Let's take you to the Free State, and at the conference venue, Newzroom Afrika's Tumaole Mohlaoli is standing by with the party's provincial spokesperson, Daniel Khoabane. Good morning, Tumaole.
Well, a very good morning to you, Dudu. And as you mentioned, I'm standing with the provincial spokesperson of the ANC, and Daniel Khoabane, just to give us an update of where we stand in terms of the processes here in the elective conference of the ANC. Dr. Khoabane, what is the latest? Where are we in terms of the nominations and elections processes? And just give us an insight for our viewers' perspectives in terms of how those processes worked. We had nominations from the floor, and we also had general nominations from the branches. What is the difference, and how does the process serve into the election of office bearers?
Thank you. The branches nominate, and a threshold is put, and in this case it was 20% of the branches of the province for you to qualify to stand for an official's position. So during the conference, at the conference floor, the elections agency would then read out those names that have qualified to be on the ballot, and then open up for any delegate to nominate anyone. So this is exactly what happened. There were those names that had qualified, and it was only the position of deputy chairperson where no name qualified for or met the threshold. So nominations came from the floor. And that's how it happened. Immediately afterwards, a ballot paper was developed, and delegates went for voting. And we had just finished the voting this morning, so we are waiting for the results for the officials now.
How long will the verification process of the results take? Are we likely to get those results today? And if there are any disputes or any concerns around that process, does that potentially mean further delays, or are you confident that the verification process will be credible?
Yeah, I think it will be credible because you have people who are observers from the alliance structures, from different structures, who becomes part of the process as observers, and you also find the dispute resolution committee of the conference also in place. So it's something that would not take long, if ever we have any dispute.
And in terms of this being set down as the final day, we understand that, of course, President Ramaphosa is expected to close conference. Is that still what is officially on the cards, or what is the process?
Yes, it's official on the cards. Immediately when the officials are announced, the process of nominations for the additionals will immediately start without delay, and voting for the additionals will happen today, and before the end of the day we would obviously know the results.
All right. Now, thank you very much for that, Dr. Khoabane. So that's the provincial spokesperson of the ANC here, just giving us what the processes that we expect to unfold, and where we stand in terms of this elective conference, the 9th here in the Free State. Quite a landmark conference, given the recent history here in the Free State, and given where the province is in terms of the state of infrastructure, the state of service delivery, and of course the concerns around turning it around, particularly for the ANC politically. And if I could just give you the nominations list that was for the officials, you have for the chairperson position, Sisi Ntombela, who is currently the Premier of the Free State, up against Mkholi Situkwana, who was the convener of the interim provincial structure that drove the process to basically get to this elective conference. And then you would have for Deputy Chairperson position, Kitso Toto Makume and Thabo Manyoni. And for the Secretary position, Puleliso Mutsuneng Paseka Nompondo Saki Mukwena declined nomination. When you have the deputy secretary position, it was Tumaole Mohlaoli, Newzroom Mohlaoli, and Vusi Chabalala. Vusi Chabalala, of course, being the former mayor of Maluti, declining that position. But the name of Vusi Chabalala came up again in the treasurer position. Matabo Lieto, Vusi Chabalala, and Marqueen Letawana, who declined. So Vusi Chabalala up against Matabo Lieto there. And it's interesting in terms of the contestation for the key chairpersonship position, with Mxolisi Dukwana up against Sisi Ntombela, and many pundits looking at it saying that perhaps this is the moment again for Sisi Ntombela to see if she enjoys that support from the ground, from the structures of the ANC, to return to a key position, the chairpersonship of the province. And of course, Mxolisi Dukwana, after having taken on that role in the interim provincial team that was tasked with turning the province around, and that will all come to the fore once those results are announced, and of course conference is then given the seal of approval by the ANC president himself, Cyril Ramaphosa, stating that after a long time without a provincial structure, that the Free State, a very key province, both in the history of the ANC and of course in the economy of the country, is now certainly, according to the ANC, would be back on track.
Tumaole, the relevant authorities, are they sure that the president of the party will indeed be able to close conference? He is preoccupied with the energy crisis, having meeting after meeting.
Well, certainly, and the energy crisis itself was something that had a very central place in terms of the opening addresses, the political addresses here that happened before the nominations processes and the elections processes here at conference. And of course, Mxolisi Dukwana himself giving an overview about how local government is key to trying to resolve this energy crisis in terms of the management of municipal infrastructure, the management of municipal purse strings, and of course turning things around and getting confidence in service delivery, saying that the public would be willing then to do its part. We know that of course here in Mangaung specifically, and other areas in the Free State, Thabo Mofutsanyana municipality as well, Putadichaba, having some grave problems with Eskom coming in these areas, saying that it is owed billions by the municipalities, and that is coming from a culture of non-payment by residents turning back and saying they don't mind paying as long as the services are consistent and uninterrupted. So it is quite important that those particular issues were touched upon. And of course, a national chairperson, Gwede Mantashe, there also touching on that and saying that discipline is the only way that these issues will be resolved, and that when it comes to the issue of the national crisis in energy specifically, that new players should be looked at entering the market, but at the same time that the sabotage of Eskom is a little more than just theft and vandalism of infrastructure. It speaks to a broader, deeper problem, and a problem that is trying to undermine processes in the country. And he's saying that people should have an understanding that the ANC as well as government are trying their best to get to the core and to try and uproot this particular problem, and that those processes do take time, but that the ruling party is keeping an eye and trying to ensure that residents get services that they are due, but at the same time also calling on the branches to come back again and encourage a culture of payment and a culture of defense of key infrastructure throughout the country.
Tumaole Mohlaoli, thank you very much for that update.